Dear Abby, I've been answering questions all day long. The same question, over and over again. I need to get this time back. What can I do differently?
If you've selected this video, then you are losing a lot of time answering student questions. Typically, student questions stem from one of four domains: technology, course navigation, course content, or student learning habits. I will briefly explore each of these and offer you some solutions. So much technology, so little talent. Yep, their faces are in screens all day, but you cannot assume that students know how to use technology. Some can barely manage at all, some know a bit, probably not the best and fastest methods, and there are a few who are already experts. Since technology has now become the key vehicle in which students engage with a course, you need to keep the varying ability and comfort levels in mind. While you are planning and creating your unit, lessons, and assignments, consider the different types of technology, both hardware and software. Provide students with how-to directions, or even better, videos, that will walk them through the fastest and easiest way to complete the task. Chances are you will find that you will ask students to use similar software and hardware for multiple assignments. Therefore, it may be a good idea to create a how-to folder in your course with links and directions. You can easily include a link to this folder when you create the individual assignments. Likely, after they've used it a couple of times, they will no longer need to refer to the link, but it can help students in the beginning. Another helpful thing to do in the beginning is to really give a tour of your course. And you can do this live or you can make a video. In your tour, you want to show students where they will access different materials or resources, explain to them how you will organize the materials so they know where to find the most recent assignments or where to look for older assignments. You could explain to students your methods for providing updates or announcements and if and when you will use them so they know when to check. Moving forward, as you become more familiar with technology, websites, programs, and software, keep in mind that your students may not be making as quick an adaptation to online learning. Avoid introducing too much new technology at once, and consider also that you are one of many teachers, and if everyone is trying something new, it can be overwhelming for the student. Wherever possible, consider alternate, non-techie, or easier tech options for submission. For example, if students are annotating text, allow them to print the text, annotate on paper, and either photograph or scan the submission. If students are answering questions, allow them to answer the questions on a sheet of notebook paper that could be scanned or photographed. A good system shortens the road to the goal. So the key here is to find a clean and clear method of organization for your course. A system that you have that is clear and clean for your students will mean they can navigate through those things easier and they will have less questions. Organizational tools built into Schoology include folders, pages, media albums, and the gradebook. You will need to decide how to use each of these tools to share and teach your content. There are many ways you can do this, and the most common and successful are these four. At the course level, put the most recent or relevant materials near the top of the page. You don't want your students to have to scroll too far to find the most up-to-date assignments and resources. Unpublish or move old assignments and resources into a folder so students aren't getting lost in them. Make it personal. Use emojis, symbols, pictures, or bitmojis to help grab students' attention or direct them to the right location. Consider netiquette for course designers. Be clear in your instructions. Use common language from one week to the next. For example, every week you might provide an introduction and objectives. Tell students what to read, what to discuss, what to hand in. Avoid unnecessary or unrelated media or images. The less clicks, the better, so make things easy to access. Collaborate with your team or grade level to come up with some standard or common organizational practices. If there are similarities between students' classes, they will catch on to organizational systems quicker. Folders. Folders contain multiple materials, and they can be dated, individually assigned, and allow completion rules. It is best to think of a folder as a place to include all materials and assignments for a particular unit, or all of the materials and assignments for a given amount of time. Within that folder, materials should be organized by type or sequentially. In our current situation, sequentially is probably best. Folders can also be color-coded to help indicate the contents, more relevant to topic or thematic organization, but it can also be used as a reference point. For example, look in the yellow folder. Lastly, folders can be edited to include a brief description or what I call a table of contents. When creating or editing a folder, you have a text box where you can include a description, pictures, links, or directions. It's fairly robust, but not a significant amount of space. It is a great place to provide a brief summary or description of what is in the folder. You could give some simple directions. What students will really love is if you link the contents of the folder to that description. This will allow them to go directly to the materials rather than into the folder, and so it is one less click. Pages. Pages have a lot of potential, but are definitely limited in outcomes. You can put class notes, PDFs, or assignments, nearly anything on a page, but students will not be able to interact with it in the same ways they would an assignment or quiz. Within a page, you can include text, pictures, videos, links, images, tables and charts, files, pretty much anything, so it acts as a good landing page for a given unit, week, or folder. Within your page, you can provide instructions and expectations for the assignments within a folder, and this is made even better when you provide the links to those assignments. Just like in the table of contents for the folder, the page could become a portal to all the other content for a given week or unit. In addition to the folder description, you can include additional resources, descriptors, images, explanations, because you have more space. Going back to the idea of a template, you can create a template in Word or Google Docs and then copy and paste it for each week. Fill out the document for that current week and then copy and paste it into the page. This will provide useful information to the students, but will take you less time from week to week to put the information online. Media albums. These are digital albums where you and students can load pictures, audio, and video, not text or document files, and it must be loaded from their computer, not the internet. They can add captions to their submission and comment on each other. It is sort of a built-in Flipgrid in Schoology. With the frequent posting of instructional videos, the media album may be a useful place to capture all of the videos in case that students need to go back to view a previous lesson. It would provide a convenient place for them to go find it. The gradebook is a fairly underused tool because it's usually not accurate. But if all your assignments are online, then it can be a good reference point for students and parents to check on their progress. The gradebook will automatically populate with assignments you have created, and as you grade the assignments, the gradebook will immediately reflect that grade. Rubrics are visible in the gradebook, and you can code assignments as missing, excused, or incomplete. The student view of a gradebook group groups the assignments by category and lists them in chronological order. Each assignment is a link, so students can easily go back and look at that assignment if they have questions. They can also see if there are assignment comments available. One quick note, if you do decide to use the gradebook, any unpublished assignments, if it were an older assignment that you unpublished, it will not be visible in the student gradebook. It doesn't mean that it's not being part of the student's grade calculation, but they won't be able to see that assignment. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. There are many types of questions, and these questions are the ones that you are most likely to want to get, but you're probably not getting as many. These are the questions on your content. It's inevitable that students are going to have questions, and these can be a good sign that students are engaged in your course and working toward learning. And for this reason, you can't completely avoid them, but there are some things you can do to lessen them. Carefully plan how you will present and organize your content. Do not assume that you can load all your materials from a traditional in-class lesson and it will naturally unravel in the same way. You may have to rearrange activities, include additional resources, and make sure that all the content, including the media, is closely and clearly connected to the objective. If it's not an obvious connection, explain it. If it's just barely related, don't include it because it will become an area of question for students. In an online course, you're not just telling them what you do, but teaching them to do what you do. You need to outline your content from the learner's perspective, not your own, not as suggested by a textbook. And think about the process of learning that material and predicting and preparing the supports necessary to help students where the learning gets difficult. Make it easy. This is not the same as dumbing it down. The strategy, skill, or knowledge you're teaching is what it is, but make what students have to do with that content and how they access it or how they respond to it easy. Ways you can do this include breaking the material into small chunks, checking for and building on students' prior knowledge, use multimedia tools and content where relevant, and provide pre-training and use a clear, informal tone. Limit the amount of new material being presented at a time. I do want to highlight something very important here is testing prior knowledge. If you make assumptions about what students already know and then present them with new material based on that assumption, then they will obviously have questions because there will be gaps in their understanding. So find ways to find out from students what they already know on certain topics. The struggle you're in today is developing the strength you need for tomorrow. And here we're talking about different ways in which people learn. And the importance here is that students need to learn how to learn. To consider the different learning preferences. I'm going to call them your left-brained learners. These kids will take a direct and sequential approach and be very methodic in the completion of their work. They will move through the material quickly and focus on the practical elements of a lesson. They are focused on the finish line, so they are more likely to get ahead of themselves, and this is where their questions will begin. It is possible that in moving or rushing through previous assignments, they didn't make the deep connections or come to deep conclusions necessary to continue with the next level. Right-brained learners will take a holistic approach and consider the big picture more than each individual lesson activity. They will prefer group or participatory work and sharing thoughts and opinions. They will struggle with starting and completing the work on time. Without collaboration and restricting themselves to one topic because they will see everything is important. Sometimes these students present as our perfectionists, where they perseverate over one aspect or portion of the process, which gets them behind. The perfectionist's curse is then the need to get frequent approval, resulting in questions. Does this look right? Did I do this right? Is this better? Should I move on? Some things you can do to accommodate both types of learners is give a weekly breakdown of the objectives, assignments, and steps to take them. You could even consider giving students a suggested time schedule. The quick-to-finish students may realize that their completion of an assignment that was predicted to take a half hour but only took them 10 minutes might be missing something. The perfectionists may realize that the glittery poster collage that they were planning is beyond the expectations. This will allow the lefties to get a highlight of all they have to do and realize the importance of each step. It will give the righties a chance to outline and organize their own plan and ask questions in a more immediate way. Another option with time is to give students a time limit. If you expect them to be able to finish something or enough of it in a given amount of time, consider using the quiz or assessment feature and make the assessment timed. The time limit wouldn't be in place to punish students. Therefore, you would use this type of assessment as formative data, or you might grade what they completed, not how much. The limit would prevent students from spending more time on it than you want. It's important in this scenario that you inform students that the timed assessment is not a gotcha, but your way of saying, look, I want you to spend time on this, but I know that there are a lot of other important things to do, so I don't want it to consume your night. Lastly, create a collaboration space where kids can work together, share and respond to each other's ideas through text, videos, or audio and oral responses. Within Schoology, this could be in a discussion or a media album. You could also use the Microsoft Whiteboard or OneNote or a shared document to create a collaboration space that everyone can access. So the big takeaway from this video shouldn't be how to eliminate or avoid student questions, but how to manipulate and manage them. Questions are a direct result of students wanting to learn, and the last thing we want to do is squash that desire and interest. So take note of the questions you're getting to determine your best course of action. Try different techniques, strategies, and tools. If they don't work, find new ones. Look for opportunities and ways to teach your students how to ask good questions and how to find the answers on their own. Provide them with opportunities to be curious, self-reliant, and learn how to learn.